What's up, everybody? Matt Maran here, and today I am with my buddy Nick Murray over here from his YouTube channel that many of you probably also follow. If you don't, you definitely should. All his hilarious antics and various vehicles, both on the ground and in the air. And so yeah, we're both at this AVA event for Performance Car and Performance SUV of the Year, and we are in the Bullitt because this is one of the cars that Ford actually sent that's in the running. This isn't my Bullitt, that's why it's got the Recaros and stuff. But yeah, so I'm of course having a blast. How are you liking the Bullitt?
I'm having a blast too. The Bullitt's one of my favorite cars. You know, manual transmission, green on the outside, awesome sound. But we have driven some amazing cars these last couple of days, haven't we?
Definitely.
The McLaren obviously is the standout, and that thing is just a scalpel of a car.
Nice. Yeah, I have not driven that one.
Oh, you haven't yet?
Yeah, that was tomorrow morning for me, so I'm excited.
Well, yeah, that's something else. It just figuring out the systems itself is so different than any other car out there.
Yeah, well, they're telling me there's a whole startup sequence too. You can't just like hop in it and start it. You have to leave the accessories going to a while, and then...
And you need to follow that startup sequence because I didn't.
Oh, really?
Like, she stressed to me, do this, then do that, then do that, otherwise things will go bad.
Yeah.
And I just jump in, press the button, and it all went bad.
Really?
Yep.
How many warning messages did you get?
So no, what happened was, the car, all the accessories and everything turned on, but because I'd done it in the wrong order, the car wouldn't recognize the key. So then I couldn't turn it off, I couldn't turn it on, I'd get out of the car, get into the car, I was completely stuck. And strangely, and I don't know whether this is almost certainly not the actual way to fix it, but I'd just run out of ideas. Like, I was stuck at the end of this road, and I couldn't get the car started, I couldn't get it to recognize the key. I took the key far from the car, then I brought it back again. I finally put the key in the trunk, and I went around and pressed the start, and it started.
Really?
I know, it can't possibly be the solution, but
You're a genius. How did you figure that out?
I was just trying different shit in the end.
You should just sell that to McLaren and be like, here, put this in the owner's manual.
Yeah, so the McLaren is something special. And I think the most controversial car between the two of us has been the M5.
Yeah.
And you think, because I'm such a BMW fanboy, that I would love the M5, and you're a Mustang guy, you'd be whereas it's the other way around.
Yeah, I love the M5. I mean, it's crazy. It's almost as fast as the 720S in a straight line.
Yeah.
It's just insane in every way. I don't know, the brakes, the carbon ceramics are impressive.
No, everything about it is impressive. Don't get me wrong. I think it is an incredibly impressive piece of technology. It just does everything so well.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's partly why it's just not something. It has to be more of a challenge, and I drive it fast, and it feels like my old M4 in a lot of ways, and it's such a cool machine. But I was left a little cold. I don't know. I think maybe it's the sound. Maybe it's just that it just makes it so easy.
Yeah.
I have more of an adrenaline rush driving the Mustang than the M6 because
it's pretty high praise.
Yeah, well, it's a cool sound. It's you've got to be thinking. You've got to be on your toes to drive this car.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't know. I think the M5, it felt like it was a little more natural, a little more tuned in than the M4, and that was kind of, because before that I was like, the M2 is like the best M product by far in my opinion, but now I don't know. That M5
Have you driven the M2 competition?
I haven't yet. I'm hoping
they're stepping it up again with that, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Like it.
And what else have we driven? Both together.
What do you think about the X3, another BMW? The
I've got that at the moment, and I've previously driven that, so I haven't done anything on that yet.
Okay, cool.
And I haven't done the Dodge yet. You've done the Dodge, both the Dodges, haven't you?
Yeah.
I'm excited for those.
Yeah, I think you'll love the Red Eye, because that thing is just bonkers.
That's crazy. Yeah, and people give Dodge grief for just producing low-tech muscle cars, but I think that's the joy of them.
Exactly.
Amazing. Low cost, extremely high horsepower, kill yourself in a moment cars. I'm blown away. I love what Dodge has been doing lately.
Yeah, have you drove a regular Hellcat already? Right?
Yes, I have, yeah.
So
incredible.
Red Eye, like, you only really feel the extra power, at least in my opinion, like, beyond legal speeds, and then it finally hooks up, and then you really start pulling like a freight train.
Yeah, they're really a fun vehicle.
Yeah.
And I hear that the Mustang's selling really well in Europe.
Yeah, one of the best-selling sports cars. I don't know if it still is the best-selling sports car like it is here in the States, but it's close, I think. I know it's been beating out the Audi TT, which sells really well over there. And
I didn't even realize that Mustangs were selling well in Europe. I posted a picture of this Mustang on my personal Facebook page, and I had a bunch of my friends around Europe, one in France, one in Germany, go, dream car. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that, forbidden fruit, the stuff you can't have.
I guess, yeah.
The Mustang's been, kept away from Europe for so long, they couldn't get it, but there are so many people that, the formula is fun regardless of where you're from, Everyone, I think, enjoys the sound of a V8. Most people do. Yeah. Everyone loves the crazy amounts of power, rear-wheel drive, and the whole engaging experience of having to actually manage that yourself.
But this is a different feel. V8 than like Dodge or the Camaro. Definitely. They are low down power, traditional lazy V8s.
Yeah.
This thing has got hardly any power down low, and you really need to rev the nuts off it to get any power out of it, and then it really pushes you back in your seat.
I love it though, and actually it kind of reminds me of my old BRZ in that way, whereas the BRZ had nothing either. The S2000 is another example, and so this is like that except with way more power and obviously a bigger vehicle, but I love that sensation. I like driving it hard, and because with the Camaro, and especially with the Camaro, but even with the Challenger as well, it's like, you just step on it, you get wheel spin, and you get tons of torque immediately, but then it's like you have to put your foot up it way quicker, whereas with this, I can actually, stab my foot into it, and I'm not going rocket speed just yet, but then it starts winding up and going, and then you really start flying.
So you can catch yourself in a situation where you're just in too high a gear to launch away.
Right.
Yeah. And in these days of every car's got a turbocharged engine,
they all have torque at
you kind of get used to having that low end torque, don't you?
Yeah, it's kind of an old fashioned feeling with this.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And Burt Reynolds died today.
Did he?
Yes.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's a pity we don't have any
Trans Ams.
Yeah, Trans Ams around.
Gotta bring back a Smokey and the Bandit for that's a shame. I always love the Celebrity Jeopardy on SNL. The guy that pretended to be Burt Reynolds. I got a big hat. It's really funny.
Yeah, I always enjoyed his movies.
Yeah.
And I'm old enough to have seen his 70s movies back in the day, kind of thing.
You're dating yourself, Nick.
Oh, I'm an old, decrepit man. Enough of you young guys and your toys and your iPhones.
All this fancy tech.
Yeah, all your fancy tech.
You're over here with the Casio watch.
Oh yeah, I'm with my Casio watch. I'm pretty heavy. What else have we driven on this week? The Alfa Romeo.
I have not driven that one.
Oh, you haven't? Yet. Oh, that's right. It had a flat tire, didn't it?
Yeah.
Boy, we're on completely different segments. Yeah.
Stuff.
Oh, the AMG.
Haven't driven that yet either.
Oh, catch up, would you? Okay, we haven't driven any of the same cars yet.
What was the other one that I did early on?
I had a hilarious time with the.
What about the Maserati?
The Maserati. Yeah, the Maserati. That thing that just had me in fits of giggles the whole time because it was just things going wrong. The wonky gear, the glove box that kept opening. All sorts of nonsense happened with that car.
Hilarious. I mean, it seems like they did improve it in the Levante. Did you drive the Levante yet?
No, I've driven a Levante previously, and they are a great vehicle. I mean,
better quality.
They're much better quality. But that's they're going up against the Cayenne. The Cayenne is a superior vehicle in my mind. And obviously, I'm a Porsche fanboy, but that's why they outsell them. But it's still a good car.
I'll be curious to hear your thoughts on how the Cayenne's power delivery compares to the Levante as far as turbo versus the GTS and Levante. Because the Levante is right up there with the Cayenne turbo as far as horsepower, 550, and
that's a lot.
Hauls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of an old school sensation where you don't have a ton of power down low, but once those turbos spool up, it flies. The front end lifts up, the back end squats down, and that thing is just crazy. Now, it's definitely softer in the corners and stuff like that than I think the Cayenne probably will be. But, if you're not bombing down a back road, honestly, I think I would be really tempted by the Levante over the Cayenne. Just because I think Levante is a little more exciting looking.
Yeah.
It's just a little more...
Yeah, they've been very conservative with the latest Cayenne.
And there's not a million buttons like you have the Cayenne and stuff.
And how's the channel going? Good?
Yeah, it's doing pretty well, you know. Like any channel, I think, at least in my channel, you know, it has ups and downs. So there's times where it does well and other times where it doesn't, but I always kind of ride out the waves. And I've been getting lots of great opportunities, having a blast, you know, doing stuff like this and going on more press drives and things like that, which, you know, is kind of one of my goals, is, you know, be able to review the stuff as soon as I possibly can. And so that's kind of cool. But how's your channel been doing?
Yeah, you know, the biggest problem with my channel is Nick Murray himself not finding enough time to do it. So I'm lucky to get one video in a week, and I really should do more, but obviously it's not a full-time thing for me. But no, I'm very happy with the growth of the channel, and you know, I'm very lucky that I have, you know, my viewers are very supportive and give me good feedback and
excellent hater comments.
Excellent hater comments.
I'm jealous of Nick's hater comments. Every time he does one of his hater videos, I'm like, man, he's got some of the most hilarious haters. I wish I had haters like him. Mine are just annoying.
I got some good ones this week. I hope to save them all up.
That's, if for no other reason, check out his channel just to see the insane stuff that people write to him. It is hilarious.
Yeah, it's good times. So I've been doing fastest car in reverse.
Yeah, you said the Bullitt's the king.
The
right
Bullitt
now,
is the king. I couldn't actually see exactly what the speed was because I was having to watch. But man, she was hauling in reverse.
That's crazy. I'd be terrified of like doing an unintentional J-turn all of a sudden.
That's
in the middle of the road.
So what are you going to get next, Matt? Obviously you're going to keep the Bullitt forever.
Yeah, plan to keep the Bullitt forever, but the next car, I don't know. It's kind of a toss-up. I really would like a convertible, smaller sports car. You know, I still am pretty smitten with the F-Type. You know, so I was actually considering the new Z4. I love the way that it looks. But then, you know, the fact that I'm offering a manual, it's kind of a little bit of a deal breaker for me. You know, the F-Type, you can get it in the manual, and I'm happy with the V6. You can't get the V8 in the manual, but I have this for the V8, so I think I'd be happy with just the V6S, and I think that'd be...
And the value of the F-Type drops off the edge of a cliff. So if you're willing to get a second-hand one, you could really get one cheap.
Yeah, that's the plan. Get a you know, used one for, you know, mid-40s or something like that.
Yeah, it's
totally
a good plan.
Doable. And someone just dumped their garbage on the road here. Either that or like 15
Oh no, there they are. There's the car.
Wow, that you have to show that. I don't know. They loaded their little Ranger up with, like, I don't even know how they thought that was gonna work.
Yeah, convertible would be nice.
Yeah, convertible, and then I also really want a classic car. So, you know,
how classic? How old?
Pretty old. I love stuff from the 40s actually, which is a really underappreciated decade of car design in my opinion.
And people don't know anything about the 40s either.
Yeah, they don't. But it's, you know, it's before all the fins and stuff came in, so it's not quite as crazy and extreme. So that's kind of, they still have some really beautiful clean lines, and the fenders that are, you know, large enough you can, you know, serve dinner on them, you know, just all that kind of stuff is really cool to me. So something from the 40s would be nice. I do want something from the 50s. I also do want a 68 Mustang GT Fastback Bullitt clone car someday, but those have just skyrocketed in value. You used to be able to get like a nice Bullitt clone for between like 45 and 60. Now like 60 is the baseline if you're lucky. Like there's one listed for 100,000 on a site, and it's just like crazy how much they've gone up in value. So that might have to wait a while, because 100,000, I really want one of those, but $100,000 buys a lot of really sweet cars as well. I still want a Ferrari someday and stuff like that, so we'll have to see how the channel does, see how life goes, but all kinds of goals still.
Yeah, I'd like an ocean-going classic car at some stage, like a 70s. And there's so many big 70s classic American cars that I love. I'm even having trouble picking between them. But even a...
I love the Lincoln, like, Mark 5s and stuff.
That's right. The Lincoln Continental, the 77 or 78, which are not very popular Lincoln Continentals. But I really love them, and they're just huge. And the way they just wallow along the road, 7.7 litres or whatever they are. They have a top speed of only 100 miles an hour.
I know, those things are great. I love them too. Like they even have like those like fins almost in the front of the corner lamps there, like gonna stick out of the Lincoln emblem. It's really cool stuff.
There's a whole range of classic American 70s cars that I love, which would just be terrible to own and try and keep on the road and drive anywhere, but still pretty awesome.
Fun, Who knows, you might actually make some money if stuff like that ends up appreciating in 10 years.
True.
You never know. But well, did you see the new 992 was spotted on the Nürburgring, completely uncamouflaged?
Oh, really?
Today? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
A bright red one.
Yeah, people keep sending me photos of it and wanting me to do a video, but like, I don't really want to talk about it until I actually see one in real life.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what they do with the engine and all that kind of stuff.
They just bump the engine normally, like
a little bit.
Yeah, 10 or 15 horsepower, so probably similar engines, similar options. You know, it's just an evolution. They don't, nothing crazy ever happens with the new 911.
Yeah, I'm curious to see that new interior though. It seems like it's going to have, you know, like a Panamera style screen.
Yeah, they definitely have Panamera, and the screen, the center screen is a lot larger, and then they take away all those buttons. So it'll be, well...
I think that's going to kind of remind me of the 993 dashboard, which is kind of straight across in the traditional...
And some of the headlights sort of have a sort of a 993 look about them as well, I think, on the 992.
Yeah, and I think even the way that the back end's a little more rounded seems like reminiscent of the 993 as well. So they might be kind of channeling some of that 90s nostalgia and stuff that people have. How's your 911 doing? Yeah,
it's really good. I'm surprised with the amount of abuse that it gets from me. I'm always carrying surfboards on the roof, and I had a 5-seat sofa on the roof.
Wow.
Yep.
And so those roof rails are strong.
They're strong, yeah. I forget what they're rated for, but yeah, I put all sorts of stuff on there, and it's fun. It's fun to see what I can load on the roof of the 911, and fun how many dogs I can get in it. They're doing that sort of stuff really upsets Porsche purists.
But not as much as washing your car with a wire brush.
Oh, it's so good, that brush. I washed my 911 with the nylon brush. I got so much hate, it was excellent.
Yeah, his car is clear brought, everyone, in case you didn't see the video. Completely clear brought, it all heals, you know, that expel, that self-healing properties, you know, it's not a big deal, but it's so funny. People were really upset about that. Even I cringed a little bit too, though. I was like, oh, I don't know if I could even do that with a clear bra. It just takes more stones than I have, but yeah, it's funny.
No, it's good.
Didn't try rolling away on you anymore?
It hasn't tried to escape. Tried to escape twice. One with when I park in the garage, my garage got a little lean. Actually, that video came up on Reddit recently.
Oh, really?
And everyone was going, "Oh, it's a fake! It's a fake! Why would he leave his camera on?" But of course, it was recorded by my dash cam, and I have a timer in the dash cam. It keeps recording for 8 hours after I've got out of the car. So anyone that bumps the car, and there's a cam on the front and the back, so it keeps recording even when I'm out of the car. And my car's got my garage got a little lean on it, so that when I drive in with snow, it just melts and flows out. So my car's a manual transmission. I've got a bad habit of not putting it in gear and not putting the park brake on. So it rolled down the driveway that one time, and then a friend of mine who was letting me drive his car, he parked it but left it in second gear, and it slowly rolled down the driveway. No other problems since then.
That's hilarious.
Well, thanks for the spin in the Mustang, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for coming along.
I'm very impressed with this car.
Yeah, it's high praise though. Seriously, you drive some really sweet stuff, Ferraris and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like it. And
you still have fun in this. That's a big statement.
I definitely had a lot of fun in this, and I like how everybody comes to you for advice on this. Everyone's, Matt, what's this? And you've got the answer for them every single time.
Yeah, everyone here this week has been like, so what's this, what's that, and what's the differences, and all that kind of stuff. So I've been educating everyone, but I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, we need an expert like you on every car.
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right, cool. Well, thanks again.
Thanks, man.
Everyone, again, go check out his channel if you haven't already. We'll be doing some more collabs hopefully sometime in the future.
That's right.
As well.
Check out Matt's channel. I'll put a link in the description below.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Matt.
Yep.